Hey, what is up? So today I'm going over the gameplay camera system, and what that does is it creates complex camera behaviors in the editor, and it's a built-in system that's already in it. It's just a plugin that's, I think, enabled by default, but we will go over. I'll show you exactly where to go to enable it if it isn't. So for this, I'm going to be creating a gameplay camera system that has 3 different types of camera angles from the character. The first one I'm going to do is a third person, which I'm going to be able to zoom in and out from the character using the scroll wheel on my mouse. Then I'm going to do a first person one from, the first person perspective. And then I'm going to do a top down one. And I'm going to have it so you can press 1, 2, and 3, and you can switch between each of those positions while you're in the game. So for this, I'm going to click on the third person template, and I'm going to leave the starter content off because I don't need it. And then I'm going to just rename this project to Gameplay Camera System. And I'm going to create. So we're in the Unreal Engine thing now. So let's go check and make sure that we have the plugin enabled. So go to Edit, Plugins, and I'm pretty sure if you just look up Gameplay Cameras, well, you can see it right here. So Gameplay Cameras is enabled, and I don't believe I changed any settings on this thing, so I think it is on by default. But if you want to double check, just go into the plugins and just check to make sure that there's a check mark next to Gameplay Cameras. If there's not, check it and then restart. But mine is. So I'm going to create a new level here, just so I can have a nice clean level. I'm going to do a basic level, create. So now I have like this open area. So I'm going to create a camera asset, which is used to contain like information about the different camera rigs that we're going to create between the different third person, first person, that stuff, and then the transitions between them, how you're transitioning between each camera, and the camera director. So I'm going to go into here. I'm going to right click, and I could find it this way by hovering over it. I believe it's in gameplay, and it says camera asset, or you can just look it up by just looking up camera asset, and it should pop up here. And we want the blueprint camera director, and I'm going to rename this as CA for the camera asset underscore player cameras, because we're going to have multiple. So I'm going to double click this so we can end up in here. So we're going to create a bunch of different rigs. So wait, let me dock this up here. So in order to do that, you just go to where it says camera rigs, you click on that, and you already have one in here. So I'm going to press F2 to rename it, and this is just going to be first person. I'll just move that closer to me. Enter. So we have first person, and now if we go back to our toolbox over here, if you click it here, you now have a bunch of options over here, and these are all the options that you can use on this node that you have here. So you're going to want to start with a sequence node, and then we're going to change the boom arm. So sequence node, essentially you can add multiple different children. Every time you connect, it's going to add another child underneath it. So watch. And that way you can add multiple of these things to your sequence node. So for the boom offset, I'm going to set it to 50 and 50. 50 for the X and 50 for the Z. Now we're going to add a field of view. And if you hover over things, it'll give you a basic description of what I'm looking at here. So if you hover over this, it says a camera node that sets the field of view of the camera. So we want to increase the field of view, and we're going to, it's already at 90. I'm not gonna make it too much bigger. I'm just gonna make it like 100. And that's all I'm going to do for the first person one. So the next one we're gonna do is I'm gonna click the add button here, and it's gonna add another camera to this. This is going to be our third person. So that's our third person camera. I'm gonna do the same thing, and you can drag and drop like I've been doing, or you can right click and you can search up sequence if you wanted to. But I think it's just easier to just drag and drop it in there. It's my opinion, of course. And I'm gonna get another boom arm. So drag this here, and it'll create another child off of that. And I'm going to make this boom offset because this is third person. We're gonna have this at -500 and 50 for the offset for this. Now we want an input axis binding on the 2D right here. And this is for the 2D camera node. And then we want to grab the input axis binding 2D, and I was thinking that you could drag it onto the thing, but it doesn't look like you can do that. You can do that for a lot of other nodes on other Blueprint things, so I thought you could do for this one. Apparently not. So now I need to set up the axis actions for this. So, and the clamp. We want to add a clamp as well. Essentially what a clamp does is it makes it so you can't go beyond the confines of the clamp. So for axis actions, I'm going to hit plus here. This is going to be your IA look, because that's what we're going to be doing for this. And then for the clamp, I'm going to set a clamp min and max. So I'm checking the boolean to tell them that that's true. I do want that. And then I'm going to add -80 on one side. I hit tab to go down, and then press 10 on the other one. And I think that's all I need for that. Let me double check though. I think I need to revert the axis Y as well. Yo, what's up? Future me here. And you know what that means. That means I messed up. If you can hear the cat in the background, it's because it saw another cat back there. But going back to my mess up. So if you click on the input axis binding 2D here, you'll see that I did it for clamp X. And this is for the rotation, by the way. So the problem with doing it for X is what I'm doing here is I'm stopping it from going a certain degrees in this rotation when I was trying to get it to go a certain degrees in this rotation, which this would be the Y rotation. So what I did for the X rotation, I need to undo that. So if I drop down this clamp Y button here, I'm basically just going to copy the min and max value that I did for the X value. So I'm going to uncheck these, and I'm going to check these, and I'm just going to take a -80 here, and I'm going to take a 10 here. Wow, she's really having a hissy fit back there. All right, and that would be it. That would be the fix. So yeah, sorry about that. Even with this, it kind of rotates kind of funny, but you can play around with the settings for the third person thing and see if you can get it to fit a little bit better. But yeah, I was just trying to basically show off how to use the camera manager for this. So future me out, bye. So now off of the boom offset, we want to just drag off, and it should be the only option on here, camera rig parameter. So we're creating a parameter for the boom offset here, and we're going to grab off child 1. And then we're going to, actually I have this option over here. I can just drag off of here. Dampen option, dampen position, I mean. And then drag this onto self. And for the forward dampening factor, I'm just gonna add 5 on here. And now, wait, let me just highlight through this. Move this down a little bit. And we're going to add another child here. And what I didn't add, what I didn't add here is a field of view. So let me do that real quick. Field of view. I just want to set it up the way the other ones are set up. So I'm adding field of view here, and I'm going to add this to self. Don't need to change anything in there. And it's getting kind of crowded here, so I'm just going to highlight these things, and I'm going to move them down a bit. Maybe even further. I'm going to I also need something here. I need the occlusion material. Essentially, this is the material that's going to make it so that I can see through objects. So when I'm standing behind a object, I'll be able to, it'll make it transparent so you can see through it. And I don't have any material in here right now that has translucency or transparency. And I'm going to change that right now. So I'm going to right click here and I'm going to create a material of M underscore camera I don't know how to say that word, honestly. Like, I've only seen it written. So base color, if I click 4 or hold down 4 and then press click, just normal click on the thing, it'll pop up with this. And I'm essentially going to make this white. So if you put 1 in each one of the parameters for RGB and then A, it'll make it white. So did that. I'm attaching that to the base color here. And what we want to do, let me unclick this. I want to make this not opaque, but translucent. So now you have an option for opacity. I'm going to see what 0.2 looks like. That looks pretty see-through. So all I need to do is now apply, save, and I should have that option now to add into here. So I'm going to just drop down menu and then click that camera, whatever, occlusion or whatever the hell it's called. So we have that set up. Now the final one is going to be our top down. So I'm just going to top down camera. I'm going to go into the toolbox here. Same basic stuff. We're adding a sequence and we're adding a boom arm because we want to also change this boom arm probably out even further than what we had for the third person. It's going to be like -1000. Now we want to do the same thing that we were doing for everything else. We're going to add a field of view, add the field of view, and I'm going to leave it the same. And then I'm going to come off of 2 here and we're going to dampen the position. Let me drag off here. Let's dampen this position to self, do the forward B5 again. And then we're going to add the same occlusion material that we did to the other thing, because you can also block off view by being that far out. So let's add this on here. The occlusion material is going to be here and we're set with that. So now we're going to create a director blueprint, and you can do that simply just by clicking on director. You can hit the plus icon. I'm just going to keep it in the content drawer because I didn't even create a folder for this. Probably should have, but I mean, I'm just doing this for testing purposes. Create a folder for it. That makes sense. Maybe like camera stuff or whatever. But yeah, I'm just going to call it CDE underscore player cameras. I want to keep similar names so I know that they're related to each other. All right, so I created this. I'm not going to mess with it right now. I'm going to do that later. What I want to do is go back to my rigs and create transitions between these rigs real quick. And when I say real quick, I mean really fast. So I'm going to drag off of this, click the exit transition, and then it's going to say camera rig transition. And for the blend, there's only a few options. And I'm going to click smooth blend. Simple as that. Don't really need to do anything else. And it's going to be the same for all the other ones as well. I'm just going to show it real quick, but it's really just the same thing. Exit transition and smooth blend. If you hit Q, it'll even everything out if you have everything highlighted. I'll show it again on this thing. So exit transition, smooth blend. I highlight it, I press Q, it'll make everything even. As of right now, my character itself can't actually use these cameras. So we're going to change that. So I'm going to go into content, third person blueprints, third person character. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to first delete both of these. We don't need the follow camera and the camera boom because we are adding camera something, gameplay camera. And it's not going to have the things available, but it should be the only thing that we've created so far. It's just, yeah, just this thing. And I want it to auto-activate for player 0. Now, in the event, let me create the integer first. So I'm going to create an integer for active, we'll just call it active camera rig. And I am going to sort this out by an integer. So let me first create keyboard keys for this. So I'm going to click keyboard, and it doesn't really matter which keyboard key you click because I can change them really easily. So I can just click on this keyboard here, this little symbol here, and I'm going to click a 1. So now this is keyboard key 1. And let me just Control D to duplicate. And I can just change these really easily just by pressing on the keyboard here, select key value, and then clicking on the number that I want to change it to. And then I can just set these and then duplicate them. Same way. And I'm going to make these all different, so that's 0, 1, and 2. Press Q to make everything even. And now I'm going to add 2 floats. And this one's going to be the boom length. By the way, this is for the third person perspective, so they can scroll in and out. Boom length. And boom zoom step. It is hard to type with this mic right in my face. But now I'm going to look up the mouse wheel up, mouse wheel up, and the mouse wheel down. So I want to take the boom arm and then I want to subtract it or add it based on what I'm doing. I'm going to do scroll, so I'm going to do add for this one. So let me just show. So I'm setting the boom length by taking, let's clamp this. Clamping an axis makes it, well, I'm clamping the float. So clamping the float makes it so I can't leave the parameters of the float. And I think I need this to be negative 1,000. I think that's as far as we made the top down, and then 0. And the value of this is going to be the boom length and the boom step added together. Okay, there you go. Add, let's take this to this and then put this within the value. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just duplicate this down here, and the only thing I'm going to change here will be that this is going to be a subtract instead. So subtract, attach that here, and then add this to the value. And now we need to actually get this gameplay camera because we're going to use that. So I'm going to drag off of here, get the gameplay camera, and if I drag off of here, I can get the initial variable table. And then off of this initial variable table, I can set camera rig parameters. And I want to specify this for, well, the CA player cameras, but specifically we want the third person for both of these. So now that I've done this, I can actually just duplicate these. Duplicate, because both of these have to do with the third person camera. One thing I didn't do is I didn't add the boom length to the X. And I need to do it for this one as well. Split structure pin, and then you just drag this onto here, and I'll add the boom length to this. So all this did was add a scroll wheel for the third person character where you can zoom in and out from the character when you're in third person. So as of right now, this does nothing. I'm not able to switch between yet. I have the buttons linked to numbers on the active camera rig, but I don't have that set up in the camera director. So I need to go back to the camera director. So let me just compile and save here. And let's go back to CA cameras here. I build and save that. For whatever reason that wasn't saved. And then I can go back in here. This is my camera director here. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by, I'm just going to right click here, and we're going to find the evaluation context owner actor. And we're going to just click the character that we're going to be using it on. For me, it's going to be the third person character. If you have like a different name for it, it's just going to be whatever name that is. And then I can drag off of here and we can get an active camera rig. Get the active camera rig, and we're going to switch on int. And this should have multiple different pins that we're going to add onto it. So we're going to add 3. So 1, 2, 3, which should leave you with, because you started 0, it's going to be at 2. So I'm going to drag off of the 0, and we're going to activate camera rig. And we're going to need a couple of these. So I'm going to attach all the different numbers to them. So the first one I'm going to do is going to be the third person. Next one is going to be the first person. And the last one is going to be the top down one. And just one final thing I need to grab off of this. And I need to get controller. Get controller here. And we are going to set control rotation. Okay, I guess I can't find it on that thing. Drag off of this, set control rotation. Some things, because it's context sensitive, will only pop up if you drag off certain things. So either make sure you're dragging off the right things or disable the context sensitive if you're looking for something specific. But anyway, drag this on here, and I'm going to right click on this, and we're going to split the structure pin, kind of like we did last time. And this time I'm going to add a -50 to the Y pitch. The Y, which is the pitch. And now we're just going to compile, save. I'm going to go back into my environment, which I named it nothing yet. It's untitled, but that doesn't really matter. I'm just going to create some shapes. Cube. Let me drag this into an open area here, and I'm going to scale this up. Let's just do this. If you have something clicked, you can press end and it will snap to the ground. And I'm just gonna do this. If you alt click drag, it'll duplicate objects. Alright, just for something for us to show the opacity thing. So let me play. And right now I'm in the third person and I can scroll in. Can only scroll in, what the heck? What did I do? Did I not change? Okay. I didn't change the boom length or the boom step when I created the default values for these things, so it's not really doing anything here. So what I need to do is I need to change the default values of these things. So boom length needs to be -500, and the boom step needs to be 25. Can't believe I forgot to do that. All right, anyway, let's go back to what we were doing. So let me test it out now. So scrolling in, scrolling out. And I've reached a max capacity because I set a clamp on it so I can't go further than -1000. And this is as far as I can zoom in. All right, well, let me check the opacity thing. So if I go behind something, you can see me through the object. All right, so now I'm going to hit 2, and that takes me to first person. So this is my first person view. And if I hit 3, it sets me in a top-down view. And then I can toggle back to 1, and this is my third person view. But yeah, hopefully that is helpful to you. Yeah, thank you for watching. Have a good one.